there's an issue out here that has been, burning, honestly, pretty white hot with just a few gaps for a long time now. I mean, it's the whole idea of redistricting. It ended up going to the voters. They approved. 61% said thumbs up. But at issue here is how the commission is going to be put together on that redistricting commission. Who will be on it, how they're chosen, who gets chosen. There's already been one set of lawsuits filed against this, and now another. And this is from the Michigan State GOP, the Michigan Republicans. They've gone after it here. They say it just goes too far. But it's not identical to an earlier lawsuit file, which is still in play. And I want to welcome in Tony Daunt from the Michigan Freedom Fund. I know we visited with Tony before, but there's some differentiation here, even though I think at heart they've got a lot of the same goals in mind. And he's on the other end of our line. Morning, Tony.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Dave.
You're welcome. Now, these are separate lawsuits, correct?
That is correct. Yes, they're similar, but they are definitely separate.
All right. So, tell me how they're similar, and then tell me what the biggest difference is.
Well, in terms of their similarity, the biggest kind of issue would be that they're both challenging the constitutionality of the way this commission is established and who gets to sit on it, who can apply, and who gets to determine who those individuals are.
Okay.
And so that's the biggest similarity. The biggest difference would be, the lawsuit that I am the lead plaintiff on. That one.
You were talking about denying free speech, right?
Correct. Mine's focused on the denial of free speech, freedom of association, and equal protection under the law, the 14th Amendment. And, I'm not an attorney. I wasn't involved with the creation of this lawsuit by the Michigan Republicans. But as I understand it, it's based on also a First Amendment claim of association, and that's related to who gets to determine who is a Republican or who is a Democrat. And the Republicans' contention is that they don't have a say on who their members are, and that's a violation of their association rights.
Is that a sticky wicket in Michigan because we don't assign a party when you register? Now, I think it's a strength. I don't think people should have to declare a party. I mean, a lot of people in Michigan who call themselves independents, and there's nothing wrong with that. But does that make it a little stickier here versus other states that have these commissions where people do register to vote as a party member?
Absolutely, and I think that's a real key problem with this, especially from the Michigan Republican Party perspective. With those states where people register as a party, you've got people. They're going to the Secretary of State's office and they're registering to vote. They're declaring which side they identify with most. And so when you have these commissions set up, you have a way of looking at the people's history quite easily and say, okay, they really are who they say they are. They believe what they say they believe. When you've got a state like Michigan where we don't do that, how do you know who's really Republican, who's really a Democrat, what's an independent? Is an independent somebody who voted for Richard Nixon back in 1972 and then has voted Democrats since then? Or, how do you determine that?
Well, of course, Tony, you could look and see where people donate money, right?
There are a few ways to take a look at this, but quite honestly, when you look at the lawsuit that I'm involved with in particular, the people that are most civically engaged, the people who are involved at the precinct level who for certain they are Republican, they are a Democrat because of the work they've done over the years, they're forbidden. They're prohibited. And not only are they prohibited, but the vast number of their family members. And that to me, and to the people involved with the lawsuit I have filed, that's the most offensive part, that you can punish somebody from being involved in their community simply by virtue of who they are related to. Now,
these lawsuits are against the Secretary of State, but on the other side of the Capitol complex here, just down the way a little bit, Dana Nessel says, Attorney General, see you in court.
If we weren't expecting to see her in court, we wouldn't have filed the lawsuit. And so, we believe that we have a very strong case, that these are pretty fundamental violations of our constitutional rights, the First Amendment, 14th Amendment, and look forward to having the fight in court.
What about critics who say this is just about delay as long as possible getting this implemented? It's not about really stopping it. The GOP and Tony Daunt and Michigan Freedom Fund, they just want to delay as long as they possibly can. And if they spend a little money doing it, so be it. What do you say to that?
It's simply not the case. This is an issue of fundamental freedoms that we are provided in the United States Constitution to engage in free speech, to associate with who we want, and to have equal protection under the law for everybody, not just a select few. And this commission violates those in a really fundamental way. And so we want to get this before the courts and make sure that we are protecting the rights of every Michiganian, not just a few.
Well, Proposal 2, though, I mean, do you walk a tightrope here a little bit, Tony? Because this, 61%, this wasn't close at the polls.
Well,
so you've got plenty of, not just Democrats voted yes for this. Does that put you in a little bit of a sticky position, being a party and an organization like your own on the right?
No, I don't believe so at all. I think, throughout the history of the United States and through the history of Michigan and anywhere else, you'll see that certain things have maybe been popular, but that doesn't mean that they have been right, that they have been constitutional. And that's the debate we're having now. We're not relitigating the election. We're saying, look, this commission, as established, has numerous fatal flaws related to our constitutional rights, and as such should be tossed out, and we should look to start over.
How long will when do you go to court next? Better way for me to ask that.
It's quite honestly up to the judge in the Western District. I believe Janet Neff, Judge Neff, is the one that was drawn for our case, and it's up to her to set the schedule. Okay,
so, and the same would apply to the one involving the Michigan GOP specifically, right?
Yep, wait for the judge to schedule hearings and motions to fly, and then we go from there.
Are they different enough that they'll go separately, or does the federal court have the option of rolling them in together?
I believe, again, I'm not an attorney. I'm just trying to play one on the radio, but I believe the attorney or the judge has the option to roll them into one case, but I don't know if they will do that or not.
All right, so we'll let the legal brainiacs handle that end of it, but it could go for a while. Things don't always go fast at federal court, so it might take a while.
It may, but quite frankly, we have hope that we'll move quickly because this is an issue that is moving forward. We have asked for an injunction on moving forward because we think those violations are egregious enough to warrant that. But let's say it does not receive the injunction. This commission needs to start getting the applications need to go out, and people need to start being selected to sit on it within the next year. And so I think we need some clarity on this sooner rather than later.
Tony Daunt is with the Michigan Freedom Fund. You'll find him on July lawsuit here, number 1, front and center, Daunt v. Benson. This involves the Michigan GOP, but it's very much aligned with what Tony did on his behalf. And I say he's with Michigan Freedom Fund. That does not say that Michigan Freedom Fund has filed this suit. This is Tony Daunt and others as private citizens who say that their rights under our Constitution are being infringed. Tony, I appreciate you coming back and setting us straight on this and giving us a kind of a blueprint of where things might go forward.
Always happy to be here. Thanks, Dave.